Hey guys, how's it going? I'm here with Laura from Walter's Gardens for Proven Winners.
Yes.
And she's going to give us a tour of this semi-private garden.
Yes.
It is open to people being able to come here, right?
It is. It's really designed for industry people, but
Okay.
like we have local Zeeland people come in sometimes and we don't kick them out.
I
We
mean,
just let them
it's really
visit.
pretty to like.
Yes.
I mean, you drive by it and you want to stop and come check out the garden.
Absolutely.
So this is the garden of...
This initially was started by Dennis and Harriet Walters. So they were the original founders of Walters Gardens.
Okay.
Our current third generation, it was their grandparents.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So this was like the original home on the property. And there's a house here on the property, and then we get to come tour all of this garden. And this is just a very small section of the garden. This is about an acre of a little over 2 acres
Yep.
of display gardens that you guys have.
About 2 total. Yep.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, and then so if anyone does come though, they should check in at the front office and not just start wandering around.
I mean, that's preferable, but sometimes we do get like local people who stop by like on the weekend and nobody's here. So.
Okay.
But we do have cameras, so if people are, doing things they shouldn't be, we're going to catch you.
Okay,
Yeah.
So check in at the office and come during the week.
Yes.
So we're going to turn the camera around, show you guys there are some new plants out on the market. There are all kinds of plants, and it's just rows and rows of, I mean, a lot of stuff is still in bloom right now, and it's looking really good.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and get started on this. So this is, what did you say it was?
Honorine Joubert.
It's really pretty.
Yeah.
And then does this one come up for you guys in the lawn and everything? Do you know? Because they spread.
They do spread a little bit. I mean, I think I don't see any signs of it in the lawn.
Yeah.
But I know, like, if you look over in the other part,
Yeah.
you can see where, like, the Fall in Love Sweetly is kind of encroaching out into
Yeah,
the
I did notice
retaining
that.
wall. Yeah.
Who is this sedum?
That looks like just one of
That's
the
Autumn
older.
Joy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
My sedums, I think I give them too much water and too much fertilizer. Our soil's a little super rich.
Yeah. In here, we do irrigate quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I think they typically irrigate 2 or 3 times a week. So, and then we're irrigating kind of for like the bell curve, right? So like the things in the middle get the adequate moisture, but things like the sedum, oftentimes it's a little bit too much.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of see the results. Plus Autumn Joy is just an older variety that tends to do that. Some of our newer ones definitely will hold a nicer mound, but even then, with all the irrigation we do, sometimes they get a little bit too splayed
much,
open.
yeah.
So these gardens we redesigned around the time of COVID, so probably 2020. They were here before, but it was like a different layout. It was kind of a crisscross layout, and there wasn't really any like specific intention to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Hans redesigned these, he was definitely very intentional about having like different inspirational ideas. So this bed going down, a lot of it was originally intended to put together EasyCapes for photography. So we have our EasyCape program, which is recipes within the Proven Winners perennials that are intended to go well in the same setting in the garden, be very solution based, so like deer resistant or for clay soils, and then have season long interest. And so kind of this part here was designed to put those together and get some actual photography of them.
Okay.
But then as we wander down this way, there was some other things.
Do you guys deal with rabbit and deer in this garden?
We do some. So rabbits, yes. That was the original intent of the cats. Our cat shed over there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they initially ended up here as strays. Somebody dumped them off, but then we figured, well, we'll keep them and let them do rabbit control.
Okay.
But then we also feed them, so they don't do a ton of rabbit control. I don't see rabbits here too often, but they are here. And then deer we had not had an issue with until a couple years ago. I think we took it down this week, but there had been a bunch of deer tape around the Hosta garden over there because they were sneaking in and nibbling that.
Oh, and they love hostas.
Yes,
they
a little
sure do.
bit we get.
Yeah. These Baptisia are huge. Is it Baptisia or Baptisia?
Either or. I tend to say Baptisia, but you know, everybody says things differently, and it's not a big deal.
I was talking to Hans about it, and he was saying that we probably don't get enough chill hours for ours to get this big in our area because we only hit 32 one day last year.
Really?
Yeah. So
what part of California?
Northern California.
Yeah.
Some 9A.
Yeah.
So we rarely get super cold. And
Yep.
he's like, yeah, I don't know.
Yep.
He's like, maybe.
Yeah. This is an upcoming variety that I would like to highlight, and I can do that because we actually already had it on display at Cultivate this year. So this is a new Persicaria that Hans developed that we're going to be calling Glowing Reviews.
That's fair.
So
that's a good name.
Yeah, there's another variety on the market that's older called Golden Arrows that has that chartreuse foliage. But this one's going to be earlier to start blooming than that one, so still a late season bloomer. But we introduced it. It's going to be actually an exclusive with the Synergy group for the first year.
Okay.
So it's not going to be available to all of our customers initially, but people will be able to find it at retail starting next spring. So spring 2026.
Okay. That's great.
Yep.
It's really pretty. I was actually going to ask about that one. So
yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So great late season bloom, and then that nice chartreuse color. So I'm excited about that one. And then, yeah, I mean, you can see like in here, there's definitely varieties or plants that we don't carry. I mean, we're not a conifer grower.
Right.
But
I know he was telling us that he just kind of snuck them in and they were really small and
now they're not,
sudden...
but they're fantastic. So these are Alaskan weeping cedar. It's the Nootkitensis. Green Arrows, I believe, is the variety that he's got in here. I love them. I have some in my garden too. It's just this like amazing focal point.
They're so pretty.
They are, but like I think he wants, a garden doesn't just want to be perennials. I mean, yes, we love perennials.
Yeah.
But there has to be other things, and there needs to be some winter interest.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, why he sneaks some of these things in.
And this is some very strong structure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then same thing with like the fountains. I mean, we're not in the, business of selling fountains, but I mean,
look, there's your rabbit back there.
Is there one?
Yes.
Oh, that bad little rabbit. Get out of here.
He looks like he just got done chewing on something too. I see his mouth still moving.
If I was in my yard, I'd be running after him right now and screaming.
If you weren't on camera?
Yeah. My neighbors probably all think I'm nuts. So he gets this stuff from like a local place that specializes in that.
That's really cool.
Like basalt column fountain stuff. Yeah. And then we do have some different places in the garden where you can see we've kind of dedicated to specific people. So this is kind of the living catalog dedicated to John Walters. And then over in the Hosta walk, we do have another plaque that dedicates that Hosta walk to Harriet and Dennis.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
You just have lots of the hibiscus in here too. The seed pods are really
the seed pods are cool, and then the foliage. I mean, the ones with the dark foliage I love because no matter what part of the season is, they're attractive.
These are really thick leaves on these too.
Yep.
That's really
And then
cool.
I like this little Sprobolus. I was talking about the Sprobolus with somebody. I don't know if this is that one or not, but we do have one called Gone with the Wind. It's a little bit more compact Sprobolus. So it's just a nice selection of a native species.
Just that little airy structure in it.
And it kind of smells like popcorn when the...
Okay, he made us smell one that he had in his garden. I was going to ask you, is this one that smells like popcorn?
I mean, I don't smell this one, but typically they do.
Yeah, he had us like grab a whole handful of them, and I didn't get it on video. Like his was very intense, like popcorn.
Yeah. This is Gone with the Wind. Yeah, I don't know. It may be too because it's cooling off. Because definitely when I walked by some the other day, it smelled very much like popcorn. So, and I actually like the smell of that one. There's the cassia plant, the popcorn plant that people think smells like popcorn, and I think it just smells disgusting. Yeah. Okay. So this is more of the EasyCape type area. Oh, this is another really cool plant that I really like. Obviously not like the greatest time of year to look at it, but this is one of our newer Baptisias called Golden Anniversary. So you can see that foliage is that really nice chartreuse, and then when it is in bloom in the spring at typical Baptisia time, it's like a really nice dark violet, so that contrast between the two. This is definitely one of my favorites.
That's a really nice shocking color in the garden.
Yeah, yep.
What alliums are these ones?
That's Serendipity. So
They're huge.
Yeah, yep.
Wow. So was most of this planted like COVID 2020?
Yeah, most of it. I mean, I think he may have left a few things like in situ where they had been.
Okay.
But for the most part, not, I think, because he even redesigned like the bed.
Yeah.
The placement of the beds. Yeah. So I think everything.
So I've got a couple years till mine get that big.
Yeah.
Okay. It's really nice to be able to come here and see these more mature plants.
Yeah.
Because I mean, most of my garden's less than a year old. So.
Okay. Yep.
And this phlox.
Yes.
Opening act
No, that looks like it's in, oh, that's Dream Girl. So that's not
Dream
even the
Girl.
luminary. So this is in our Garden Girls series, which is one of our non-branded Phlox paniculata. Definitely they get taller than the luminaries do.
Okay.
And Dream Girl, I think, is one of the tallest ones. But similarly to the luminaries, Hands is selecting for good mildew resistance. So like in all of our phlox breeding now, that's definitely something that we're looking for. And then as we get a little further down here, this is actually a section that we kind of have left as PPA plants, so Perennial Plant Symposium award-winning plants that we have carried. And I think we originally did that because sometime around there we had a tour come up with PPA when they were in Chicago. I don't remember what year that was. Actually, they're going to be here in Michigan again next year, though, and coming to Walters. So it's great to kind of have this. But some of the things, you know, that we maybe not even carry anymore, but some of them we still do that have been award winners. So, like, you can see American Gold Rush in there.
It's really pretty.
The Calamintha Nepeta.
Is this a geranium? Is that what that
Yep,
one is?
that's Roseanne.
That's really pretty, too.
Yeah.
I have a darker one. Which one do you guys have that's got the darker foliage?
Boom Chocolata?
Boom Chocolata.
Yeah.
I just planted those ones. Some people have said that it's like 50-50 in our area of how they perform.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, Roseanne's pretty, has been around forever. I like Boom Chocolata because the dark foliage.
Yeah.
And then also, especially earlier in the season, it just has a nicer habit to me than Roseanne. Like Roseanne just is a little bit sprawly. I mean, that's what Roseanne does. And then the Stachys Humula we used to carry. It's a great little plant too. Kind of has the salvia looking flowers, obviously done for the season now. But yeah, that was a PPA.
That's a nice little one just to kind of like tuck in too.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so then once we get to this part of the garden, more inspiration beds. Along this side now, we don't necessarily need to go down there because it's not even in bloom, but we did move all of the daylilies. So they used to be over where the Hosta walk is now.
Okay.
But as the white pines grew up, they were just too shading for that. So that's why we installed the Hosta walk over there, moved the daylilies to this side.
Got it.
But it's, again, you know, another just nice comparison of all the different bloom times, habits, heights, colors, all that kind of together. And then these beds here are where he does a lot more like color inspiration. So like you can see very intentional like color design. So this bed here is a lot of like the purples and yellows.
Yeah.
And then he's got a section, and it's more evident earlier in the season, but that's very much like, you know, reds and pinks and stuff. So he's kind of done more like color
palettes.
Yeah, color palette ideas. And then other things like you see this little, the mangave here, and you can't really see it through all the alstroemeria, but he has constructed these little pedestals that are just like concrete block.
Oh, wow.
But
you
just
can't even see them because...
You can't see it now, but earlier in the season you can. But then he always puts like a mangave in a container, and it's just kind of an idea of, you know,
this
what
one
to
has
do
its
in
death
people's
spike
gardens.
going on.
I know. Over this way, we have some other fun ideas. Oh, I do want to point out too this hosta because I really like it. I am a hosta geek, but and the foliage doesn't look great right now. I think it actually looks better over in that garden. But this is silly string, and silly string.
Is this what is lining all the way down?
Yeah.
Wow.
Silly string
The
is
blooms
really
are stunning.
Great for the flowers. Yeah. And I don't typically love
Most
hosta
people
flowers,
don't.
but these are just beautiful.
Wow. That is really cool to
Yeah.
see.
Yep.
Because usually you get like some scraggly blooms or whatever.
Yeah, no, there's a few out there that really have a super nice floral display, and this is one of them.
That's really cool. I definitely think that will be one that I need to add into our garden.
Yep.
Because, I mean, we usually leave our blooms just because the hummingbirds go crazy for hosta blooms in our area.
Yeah, I mean, I leave mine even though I'm not super fond of them because I'm concerned about Hosta virus X.
Wait, I don't know about hosta
You don't know
virus
about
X.
Hosta virus
No.
X? So it's a viral disease that has been infecting hostas, and it's become a more recent problem or more prolific problem. So I'm not going to find any here to show, but we virus test here at Walters. So like all of our product gets virus tested before we send it out. But in the market, it is a problem. So it usually like presents itself as what you would call like line bleeding or vein bleeding. So if you were to look at a leaf, and this one isn't going to show it, but like where you have just a solid color, or even if it's a variegated leaf and you have like some white in the middle, you might see some like creeping of the outside color or darker colors into it. And then you also can see some like tissue collapse sometimes. So it's really important that you aren't, that you're very careful with like sanitation practices with hostas.
Okay.
So if I were to go and cut my hosta flowers off, I would be carrying a scrub pad and a container of like bleach solution.
Yeah.
And scrubbing with the bleach solution my snips between each plant. And I don't want to take the time to do that.
So you leave the blooms.
So I just leave them be. Yep.
That's actually really good to know.
Yep. And then when you do cleanup, like I just wait until everything goes so dormant that you can just pull it.
Yeah.
And that way you don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
Other things, so some things are just kind of fun and repurposing type of things. So one of those, excuse me, is these containers that they constructed. So these are actually styrofoam shipping containers that we would receive from like our cutting farms. We would receive cuttings in these. But they took them, and this was a few years ago, they took them and they had spray painted them with gray, and then they had kind of roughed them up, and at the time they were like solid gray with just a little bit of like streaking where they roughed them up, and they very much looked from a distance like concrete planters or hypertufa. Obviously now they've been out here weathering and they don't, but it's also just a nice way to display like small and mini hostas.
Well, and it's a nice way to just reuse styrofoam too.
Exactly. And then we put these in the garage for the winter so they don't sit out here all winter, but just the elements over winter, you know.
Even just moving styrofoam is not the most sturdy.
No, but they're on the bulb crate, so they can just pick up the crate. Yeah. I'll get to another repurposing example in a minute. Before we get to that though, this is kind of our moon garden display. So that's become a popular trend. So we've incorporated a lot of like our white and silver things in here that would stand out on like a moonlit night.
Yeah.
And then he's tucked in a few different, darker foliage things that kind of help pop within it.
The spike on this one is really, really pretty.
Isn't that pretty?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when they open, they're great pollinator plants. I mean, the pollinators love them, and hummingbirds also love them.
And so if you cut those back, though, then the plant won't completely die, right?
So it depends a little bit on how much manfreda or agave is in the background of the parentage. I have some in my yard where they've flowered, I've cut the spike off, and like 2 years later, the mother plant is still alive.
Okay.
But I think most of them, if they have more agave parentage, eventually that mother plant will die.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, they've started putting out pups. I mean,
pups.
you can see probably already on some of these, like
I saw a whole bunch over in where he has all of them.
Yeah.
All displayed. It
all
was
the
really
little
cool.
pups coming out. Yeah. But I believe like the more manfreda is in the parents, the less likely they are to have the mother plant die.
Okay. Yeah, the use of the dark with the white too is really pretty.
I know, it really pops.
Oh, this Artemisia is really pretty too.
Yeah, that's Silver Mound. So that's the one that's been around for a long time. But then he's been doing some more recent work on Artemisia. So this one here is Silver Lining, which is in the branded program. We introduced it a few years ago. And what's really great about the Silver Lining and the other ones he's working on is that this type, like the more broadleaf Artemisia, historically, the cultivars have tended to spread quite a bit and, kind of become invasive within the garden. Not invasive,
they just
but
like
within the garden. Take over. This one, though, the clump gets bigger, but in the fall when we do cutback or in the spring when we do cutback, like it's pretty much just the clump is slightly widening, but it's not sending out runners through the garden. So really great kind of, advantage to these varieties that they're not going to take over.
I love all the white in here.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a moon garden so bad, but white looks so bad in our gardens.
Does it really?
They open and then they immediately burn.
Oh.
So we don't get any of that.
Yeah. We have a better climate here for
it.
You can see some of the agapanthus peeking through.
Yeah.
That's galaxy white, so it is hardy here. We're zone 6, and it's hardy agapanthus. And we've got some more in the works coming up for the future. So we'll have some blues and different colors coming up that are also going to be hardy to zone 6. So that's a big deal around here because usually you think of that as tropical.
That black lace elderberry back there?
Yeah.
Wow. They're really pretty. I've never actually seen it in person.
Oh, really?
I think they're like, what is it, like zone 7 or something like that? I don't think they're a zone 9.
Yeah, I don't know how warm they'll go. I don't ever have that problem from here. Figure out how cold
Can
they'll
they
go.
handle the Can they handle all the snow?
Yeah. And then this is the other example of kind of repurposing that we've done here. So this is kind of our version of a crevice garden. The concrete came from, there was actually a house that sat up on the hill there that we had torn down because we were going to construct a new tissue culture lab there.
Yeah.
Plans obviously changed. We didn't do that.
Now it's a lot of hostas.
Yeah, we ended up using a facility in town that we are leasing some rooms from for the TC lab. But we used all of this concrete came from the house foundation, and one of our people on staff here had some like masonry background. And was able to, know how to cut the pieces and everything. Yeah. And then where a traditional crevice garden, the stones typically or the slabs like lay at an angle and there's very little soil profile between them. This one they laid flat and there's a wider soil profile. So it's still sharp drainage. It's still good for rock garden plants, but it's a little bit more forgiving than like the really narrow soil profile. So, and again, you can see things in here that we don't carry, but it's just good examples of, how to incorporate our perennials with other items, junipers and different things that are good rock garden plants.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah. Sometimes a couple of years, we've had a killdeer nesting in here. Oh. Because they like to nest in like gravel or rock, and you'll come up in here and there'll be a mama killdeer, and she gets real mad when we come through, but yeah.
This is a really cool juniper.
Yes.
Pancake. That's really cool.
Isn't that fun?
Does it stay super? I mean, it's flat, obviously, but does it stay really small? It's not going to get like crazy huge, do you know?
I do not know on that one. My guess is it's not going to get crazy huge for like a rock garden setting like this. But I mean, you can see like some of the other things he put in here have gotten bigger. That's
really, really cool.
Yeah, I love the look of that one. Let's go to the bog garden.
So a lot of these trees were original to the house then.
A lot of them were original to the house or to the property. The one over there that's dead is a very unfortunate circumstance. So we used to be really proud of that tree and love to tell visitors that it was still, a healthy, surviving American elm tree. And then last year it started declining and then it's gone now. Oh. So the Dutch elm disease that, wiped out a bunch of the American elms, somehow this one had survived.
And then
until
instantly it didn't.
Yeah, I mean, literally like 2 years ago it looked good. Last year it was pretty decent, but we were starting to see some symptoms. Yeah. And one of our sales team members, Kayla, she has some experience in trees, and she was pointing it out to us. She was like, that doesn't look good. It's probably going to succumb. And sure enough, this year it was gone. Oh. Yeah, so sad.
That's such a bummer.
I know. But yeah, a lot of these were original. I really like that one. That's a concolor fir. Yeah. Really pretty tree. And then this is the bog garden. So we did start adding carnivorous pitcher plants to our lineup a few years ago now. So I think we have 3 in the catalog. We're working on more. Hans is working on more varieties. And this is kind of the inspiration of how to use them in the garden. So they are native to North America. They typically are native in like the Carolinas area, even up into Minnesota, Ontario region, but wherever they grow in very nutrient poor areas. Mm-hmm. And they tend to like moisture, not necessarily standing water, but moisture. So here at Walters, it's very sandy soil. So what we've done in the bog garden is anywhere you see a planting of the pitcher plants, there's actually a pond liner or a pond form sunken down in the ground, so you can kind of see the edges here.
Oh, yeah.
Even sometimes what they've done is taken like a kiddie pool, and like where it's blue, they'll just spray paint it black so it doesn't stand out so much. Then that's sunken down, some drainage holes poked like 4 inches or so off the bottom so it doesn't just hold
all the water, but it holds a good amount of it.
Yep. And then inside that is straight peat. So it's very nutrient poor, kind of sterile environment, holds much more water than the sand does. Yeah. And then like in this part between, it's our regular sandy soil.
Right. So you guys can have things.
We can have a mix of plants. Yeah. Yep. But the pictures are really cool. Let me see if I can find a good one to grab. because it's kind of fun to kind of show what they do.
Oh, wow.
I love these ones with the really big pictures. So, the way these work is there's the kind of the lip of the pitcher here has nectaries, so they're secreting nectars that are drawing insects. And then also in it, it's kind of typically a little bit sticky, and it's got a substance that acts almost kind of like Novocaine. And so when the insects come to get the nectar, they also kind of become somewhat numbed or stunned from the substance. Fall into the pitcher. Inside the pitcher, there are typically downward pointing hairs. So even if they can overcome the Novocaine-like substance, then they have a hard time climbing back out. And then down in the bottom, when I ripped it off, you saw the
water
liquid
just dropped out. Yeah.
It's actually kind of like a stomach acid type thing. So like enzymes that help the plant digest the insects. So we really like to show people, especially kids love this, but everybody, it's kind of cool. You can see what they've been having for dinner by ripping down into them. So down in the bottom here, this one doesn't have as much, but you can see a wasp and then a fly, and it looks like maybe a beetle or something right there. Sometimes when I do this, there's still some down in there that are somewhat alive, but these are pretty much dead.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
That's really cool to see. And then it flowers also.
It does, yeah. So these are actually the bract. So they come up in the spring first before the pitchers do, and there's actual petals that come out of here. Now the petals are done by now, so this is just the bract structure of the inflorescence. But then after the flowers, that's when the new pitchers come up every year. And at least here, you know, we get cold enough in winter, and depending on the snow cover and stuff, the pitchers will typically turn pretty brown. We just trim them off in the spring. And then, like I said, the flowers come up first, then the pitchers. And
so you guys don't have to like pull these and give them protection for in the winter.
No, they're hardy. Yeah.
Wow.
And then, so where I live like 15 minutes in from here.
Yeah.
And my soil is clay. I just plant them directly in the clay. They're at like the bottom of a slope, so it stays kind of moist. Yeah. So I don't have to do the pond thing, but that's in a sandy setting, that's what you have to do. As we're talking about the pitchers, I should at least point out these here. So there's certain species of pitchers, pitcher Sarracenia, that have the white up at the hood, and these are moth pollinated. So the white color draws the moths in. And yeah, it's just kind of a neat adaptation.
That's really interesting. Yeah. So these ones are much smaller.
Yeah, there's all different, you know, some of the pitchers are tall and skinny, some of them are kind of short and wide. Yeah. Yeah, different looks. We should probably talk about this plant a little bit because I think it's cool. Okay. So we're in the Denison Harriet Walters Hosta Walk. Oh, there's the plaque you can see that's dedicating it to them. This is a plant that we introduced a couple years ago. We initially introduced it calling it an Oridenia because truly it is a intergeneric cross between Muckdenia and Orisotrophy. But if you were to look in our catalog this year, we have gone back to listing it as Muckdenia because people just don't know what Oridenia is. Okay. But compared to straight Muckdenia, it's just way more vigorous. The leaves tend to be bigger. It's better in production for us. Muckdenia, and this time of year, starts to get like a halo of red around the leaves.
This it's like one, starting like this one right
starting
here?
Like that one. But this one will get some solid red leaves. Like as we get colder, all of the leaves are going to turn this nice solid burgundy. The whole plant will be like that. And then like Muckdenia, it blooms early in the spring before the foliage comes up. So you get kind of these little saxifrage type flowers. Yeah. And then it's just a good shade element. So kind of a different look than hostas. If you've never taken a close look at our crested surf and Ethereum, this is the one in the branded program, and it's got that really double cresting. So where most Ethereum, so I can pull a leaf, or we can look at a leaf over here, this would be like your normal look, where it's still very textural, but you don't have all that extra frilliness that you get with the double cresting. So that's what crested surf is all about.
That's really interesting. There's so many hostas in here.
So many hostas.
That is so crazy.
I love this part of the garden. I mean, I love it all, but this is great. I'm a hosta girl. So yeah, this was all just put in COVID times too. So like 2020. Yeah. We did start with larger plants, so often like quarts to gallons. size, or sometimes even 2 gallons. And then we did amend the soil. We added compost and stuff. But yeah, I mean, these things just took off here. So
wow.
Let's see. I'll try to point out a few of my favorites as we walk through, and also just the layout. So we tended to put them in where the ones that needed a little bit more shade are on this side. The ones that can tolerate a little bit more sun are on this side. So in more northern climates like this, you know, there's a misconception, I think, that hostas have to be in shade.
Yeah.
They can have some sun.
I don't help that.
You don't help that?
I don't help that. I'm like, no, shade, only shade.
Yeah.
Because if we even like whisper a little bit of sun at them,
but you're in a different, you're in a very different area. Here, like in kind of the upper Midwest or in the Northeast, you can get away with it. Yeah, they're going to look a little bit ratty sometimes. You do want to keep the moisture up.
But it's also the end of the season.
It's the end of the season. Even some of these look kind of ratty. Yeah.
Everything's not looking at its best at the very end of the season.
They've got the summer uglies. That's what hostas do. Yeah. Oh, this one back here is one of our newer ones that I really like. This guy here is Sound of Music. It's in the branded program. Wow. And what I like about it is the foliage is very rounded, the shape of the individual leaves, very large, heavily corrugated, and then this the variegation pattern is really feathery. So it almost reminds me of like lakeside paisley print to a degree, but a much different habit and look of a plant.
There's like 4 colors in it too.
Yeah, yep. So that's a newer one that I really like. I think we introduced that one last year. My years always get a little bit messed up because we're looking at like 2 or 3 years out and trying to remember, okay, what did we introduce last year, this year, next year, you know.
And keeping up with, every number.
Exactly. And then in this region or area, he kind of laid out by relation between the different varieties. So a lot of these are ones that sported out of each other. So here we have Sagai, and then Liberty sported out of Sagai.
Oh, so that's the parent plant then?
That's the parent plant, yep. And this was found as a mutation. And then in this region we have Halcyon, and then a lot of the varieties that were found as sports out of Halcyon, or like something sported out of Halcyon and then something else sported out of that. But they're all related back to Halcyon. So it's kind of a fun way to like teach people about hostas and the relationships.
Yeah.
This is another really cool one that I like. This is Time in a Bottle. So this was one we introduced a few years ago, and of course it's not the greatest time to show it, but
I can see how many blooms.
And what's different about this is that the buds don't open; these stay closed.
Oh, really?
And so, where on a typical hosta, when the buds do open to a flower, the flowers typically only last a day.
Yeah.
When the buds don't open, they remain on the stems for longer, and so you get a longer floral display. And the fact that it's like a chartreuse foliage, dark stem, and then purple flower.
And like a really
purple
dark
bud. It's just a really nice contrast, yeah.
That's crazy, because they're usually opening like these ones.
Right, yeah.
And so they don't pollinate?
No.
Since they don't open?
No.
Very interesting.
Yep. There's a species of hosta called Clausa, and I don't know for sure what all's in this. You would have to ask Hans if Clausa is part of the parentage or not. But it also is one that the buds don't open.
Huh.
And it's kind of like a running hosta. This one doesn't run.
This is Stilby, all right here?
Yep, this is, I don't know which Stilby this one is. We've got some of the older ones throughout the garden, and then we've got some of the newer ones. I think this is one of the older varieties that Hans didn't develop. That's kind of an open market variety. But as we walk down that way, we'll see there's a bunch of like upcoming things that he's working on.
Wow. It was really cool to be at his garden and see some of the things. He's like, yeah, this one didn't come to market. He showed us in a Stilby that only had 1 single bloom on it.
Wow, yeah.
And he's like, yeah, the whole plant, you just get 1 bloom, and that's it.
That's
so
crazy.
It was cool to see like how he develops these things.
Yes.
Your guys' Jack Frost looks really good.
Yeah. Jack Frost is, so we developed that variety at Walters over 20 years ago now because the patent just ended on it.
Oh, wow.
And so some of the newer genetics that we've introduced in the last few years, Jack of Diamonds, Queen of Hearts, Sterling Silver, they're kind of like the next generation of Jack Frost. So Jack Frost will get, and this one does look really good. Sometimes in the summer, and it may not be as bad this year because it was pretty dry, you'll get bacterial leaf spot that goes in on the leaves of Jack Frost. I'm trying to see if that's any starting right there or not. No, that looks more just like damage. Yeah.
Damage, yeah.
But this year, I mean, they look really nice and fresh. But But the newer ones that Hans has developed have really good resistance to the bacterial disease.
Yeah.
So they tend to stay nice even in like a humid, rainy summer.
Is this the apple? Candy apple? Is that what it is?
That one, I believe, is Ragin' Cajun.
Ragin' Cajun.
We've just got the signs in for the hostas. But I think over here we've got the Little Redhead and then the Ragin' Cajun. The apple slices and orange slices.
Yeah.
We can look at them over.
I love
in
the apple slices.
Yeah. They're compared to these two, they do stay a little bit more polished habit. So if you've got a space in the garden where you don't want something quite so big, those are good options.
Apple slices more? Okay.
Or orange slices.
Then I've got the perfect one in my garden.
Okay, good. Yep. This is another hosta I really like. This is Miss America. I think it's cool. The foliage just stays really, really nice. It's got quite a bit of that white medio variegation, but yet it has very good vigor. It's actually a tetrapoid, which gives it nice thick leaves.
The bloom spikes are massive.
The bloom
like,
spikes
that one's
are massive.
as tall
They're
as you.
taller than me sometimes. Yeah. And then when they're in flower, they have kind of outward facing flowers. They have like a blonde spike. So it's just a cool hosta. And then speaking of cool hostas, this is Emperor's New Clothes.
Whoa.
So this is one that Hans discovered as a sport out of Empress Wu. So if you look back by the irrigation post right there, the big, dark, kind of greenish blue foliage is Empress Wu. It's one of the largest hostas on the market. It's in the giant size classification. This was found as a sport out of that. So very different. This comes up in the spring very white with just a little bit of the green flecking. And then as the season progresses, it develops more of that misting or flecking, which is a good thing because it gives it enough chlorophyll to survive and thrive and come back. There's an older variety called White Feather that was kind of the same but didn't have as much of the green flecking.
So it wouldn't quite. It didn't quite survive throughout.
It didn't. It was like, this year it's okay. The next year it's a little bit smaller. The next year it's kind of gone. So this is kind of a much improved, it's not even a version of White Feather. It's just similar.
Yeah.
And then what's also cool is that when we do this in tissue culture, we tend to get sports out of it. And so this guy is a sport out of that. This is called Frog in My Throat. So you can see some of the same look, that speckling, but then a lot of the speckles also migrate to the edges, so you have more of a margin.
Yeah.
And it tends to be a little bit more wavy foliage as well.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's fun to see how these come to life.
I know.
Especially in tissue culture and things like that.
Yeah.
Is this Treasure Trove?
No, that is American Gold Rush.
Okay.
We'll walk over to Treasure Trove over here.
Treasure Trove is one that I definitely need in the garden.
Yes, you do. It's fantastic. Oh, here's another. This is an upcoming one. Humongosaurus. So this is going to be in the branded program, similar to Empress Wu in size, but chartreuse. But you can see really the size of those leaves. I mean, for reference, those things are just huge.
I know it's so hard on camera. Not everything always comes across. You're like, yeah, that's a hosta. And then somebody puts their hand there and they're like, oh.
Yeah, now I get it. Yeah. And then we were talking about this one the other day. I don't think you were in my tour group when we were doing it, but the Triceratops. This is a plant. I've loved this since I started gardening.
I actually have been trying to figure out who this is. So
this is Triceratops, or Japanese toad lily is the common name for it. So it's a nice shade plant, good companion to hostas and other things. The flowers, it's not an orchid, but the flowers look very orchid-like.
Very orchid-like.
And then it's very late season, so it's just started blooming now. It does kind of spread a little bit, so it's like a good kind of ground cover type thing to run in between your hostas and other shade plants.
So it's a really good one when everything is starting to fizzle out. This one kind of comes in and gives you a new little bit of life.
Yep, exactly. And there's different ones. This is Autumn Glow, so it has the lighter chartreuse edge. There's solid green ones. There's green with some speckling.
There's some taller ones that I saw, some really short ones that I've seen. Yeah.
Yep. But it's just a super cool plant. What else should we talk about?
Let's talk about these clematis right here.
Yes. So that is a variety called Violet Stardust, which I believe is not even in our catalog anymore. But it's an herbaceous type clematis. So you can see we have it supported here in obelisks, but it's not really climbing. It's just kind of growing up and then hanging out.
Yeah, so it definitely needs its support.
It needs a support.
Yeah.
If you don't support it, we can look at where we've got some standby me's in another part of the garden. They do kind of just do this. They just kind of sprawl. But I really like to use obelisk just because it also brings you an artistic element into the garden. But yeah, so versus the vining types, it doesn't climb, but then also it dies back to the ground every year.
Yeah.
So it's not like the vining types where you have to worry about, how do I prune them? Are they this type? Are they that type?
Right.
This one just totally dies back to the ground and then regrows every year. So the rundown of Treasure Trove is, it's brand new for this year. It is septoria resistant. So the fungal pathogen that causes like the black and purple blotching and speckling on Goldstrom and some of the other varieties, this is resistant to that. So it stays nice and clean green foliage, nice large flowers, and a good bloom time. So it blooms around the same time as Goldstrom, a little bit, earlier than some of the Rudbeckias, and then stays in flower for a long time during this, period in the kind of late summer into fall. So, but the biggest thing really is the septoria resistance.
All right, you guys, that is going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for
absolutely.
giving me an hour of your time to show some of this garden. And
Absolutely.
that is not all. If you're
Happy
here
to
in
do it.
Michigan, definitely stop by. Check into the office during the week. Come see everything because this place is absolutely massive. So thank you again for letting us come tour everything.
Absolutely.
We'll see you in
Thank
the
you.
next one. Bye, guys.
Bye.